let's appreciate this driving force, the driving force behind our progress, the leader whose vision continue to inspire transformation, FMBN, the great boy, the lion of FMBN, Shehu Usman Osidi, FCID, FICD, FCMD, Wellington. Please come with me. Our distinguished members of the press, the reporters, those seated here, these are the group heads, the NGO room that assisted the executive management to drive what the MP has delivered to the executive. Distinguished members of the press, we will kindly make your questions brief and remain relevant to what we have here, so that we can take as much as possible the questions during this period. In the first instance, distinguished members of the press will check for
subscription rate for that. How many, what are the subscriptions so far? And how many of those houses are completed?
Services, the media house of the FCT administration. As the staff of the FCT administration, we've been having issues with deduction, federal mortgage bank so far for over 15 years. So now, what are you going to do to resolve this issue of over 32,000 staff of the FCT administration? Last year, the bank conducted a verification and capturing exercise for staff. One would expect that since this is the beginning of the year, is it possible to commence deduction from January while you deal with the issue of the 15 years backlog?
Sir, for this wonderful milestone and for the wonderful achievements highlighted in your speech. My name is Joshua Oppo. I report for the Nation newspaper. I have just one question. So who are the beneficiaries of this housing scheme? Like you mentioned, the NHF, the Renewed Hope Cities. Who are the beneficiaries? Because I did a recent research and I found that the number of unoccupied buildings, particularly in the FCT, is really alarming, sir. And it occurs to me that most people who are beneficiaries of this building just acquire them for the sake of future investments, while majority of Nigerians remain homeless. So is there anything that the bank can do to ensure that those who really benefit from this scheme, this program, are vulnerable Nigerians who are homeless, who really need them, not those who want houses for investment purpose?
You mentioned that the bank plans an additional disbursement for the Renewed Hope Cities and Estate projects nationwide. So, how much specifically for this year or subsequently? Secondly, you also mentioned that the bank plans to establish non-interest mortgage loans. Like who are those? Yes. Who are those to benefit from these non-interest mortgage loans? And when are we expecting it? When is it going to start?
Reporter, and the question is, on the 100 billion off-taker guarantee, how many houses have been provided? So it's important to explain that what the functionality of the off-taker guarantee is to the effect that we provide a guarantee to a developer to the effect that if they are able to build houses according to certain specifications, we will offtake those houses by providing mortgage financing to beneficiaries of those allocations. So within the context of the Karsana housing project, like I mentioned, we provided 100 billion off-taker guarantee for the Renewed Hope program nationwide. And so what that means is that as many as are the number of houses that are completed with applications submitted for off-takers, we will provide the mortgage loans. So the idea of the Karsana housing project, for which Mr. President personally conducted a groundbreaking exercise last year, was to deliver the first set of 1,000 houses by May, on the anniversary of the administration. So by May 2025, the first set of 1,000 houses are to be provided. So far, about 274 houses have been completed, and applications have been packaged for under our rent-to-own window, which are currently being processed. So, talking in specific terms, that is what has been done so far. We expect that by May, 1,000 houses will be completed, and applications for the beneficiaries of those number of houses will also have been submitted to us for approval. Then, secondly, ASO Radio, you talked about the deductions for the 32,000 workforce of the FCT administration. Now, let me recall that part of the challenge we had was that there were deductions from FCDA staff, FCT and FCDA staff over a long period of time, like you mentioned, 15 years. In fact, it's even beyond 15 years. And we had the challenge that some of those deductions were effected without accompanying schedules. Now, what that does is that the bank may receive the remittance, but is unable to credit the individual accounts because the schedules are not attached to indicate who is contributing what. So, like she confirmed, we decided to set up a very robust engagement mechanism between the bank and the administration, the FCT administration, which led to the capturing of backlog of the schedules as they are submitted by FCT. And then we also decided that it was necessary to provide an update of the contributor records so that as the schedules are uploaded, we will be able to even send alerts and emails to contributors so they can see the volume of their contribution. This is also in furtherance of the demonstration of our transparency and accountability. So you mentioned that this is January, why don't we start making the deductions? We are just being careful so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. But I can assure you that we are almost closing on that, and very soon, FCDA staff will be able to get this issue finally resolved, because there are also a lot of them that have retired and are not able to access their reforms because of this problem. We are soon going to be able to resolve that. Then the nation, who are the beneficiaries of these houses? And you alluded to the fact that a lot of empty houses are littered all over the place, especially in Abuja. Let me say that in one of the interviews I granted this year, I had said that in this country we have houses we do not need, and we need houses we do not have. And the idea is that yes, there are quite a number of houses that are not occupied. Why are they not occupied? Because those houses are not affordable. While the houses we need that Nigerians can afford are not available. And that is why FMBN as an institution, ordinarily, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is supposed to be a mortgage institution, which presupposes that houses will be standing and then we provide mortgages for individuals to obtain those houses. But because we discovered that either those houses are not available or the houses available are not within the threshold of affordability for our target market, who are the low and medium income earners, that is why the bank decided to be financing housing construction so that we can then control the prices at which these houses are delivered. So I will say to you that the houses that are available that you see that are empty are not the houses that we need. And that is why we are encouraging Nigerians and investors to invest in houses that are affordable, that Nigerians can afford. And I'm using this opportunity to also call on government to tax some of those houses that are built and left vacant, not occupied. If we begin to charge, charge some tax for houses that are not being utilized, it might encourage people to put those houses to use or convert them into affordable houses. If you imagine a situation where a 20 billion naira is invested in a project, we have developments in Abuja where you will be told that a house costs as much as 1 billion naira. So 20 billion will deliver only 20 houses. This same amount of money can actually deliver 200 houses if we decide to finance affordable housing. So I think we're on the same page. And that is why the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is unique, because we only finance affordable housing. Even if you are a contributor to the National Housing Fund, the highest amount of money you can get to purchase a house is 50 million. That says a lot in terms of the kind of target market that this bank is created to serve. Then the next question is Radio Nigeria. Additional disbursements if I get the question right, I think it's about non-interest mortgage.
No, renewed hope.
The additional disbursement for the renewed hope. Okay, you asked what is, in terms of specifics, how much are we going to disburse? Okay, let me also explain that normally we provide an envelope. For example, I mentioned that we approved 19.9 billion for the developers delivering houses at the Karsana project, and another 27 billion for the Igbejuleki project in Lagos. So now these are total loan approvals, but disbursement is normally in tranches because we want to be sure that we're able to control the quality of houses being delivered, the amount of houses being delivered, and to make sure that the developers also deliver to timeline. So what we have disbursed so far for the Karsana project is 7 billion, while what we have disbursed for the Lagos project is 3.4 billion. So what I mean by additional disbursement will be directly related to how the developers are able to perform according to the milestones that we have given them. So we don't disburse the entire amount all at the same time because we want to be able to control the funding, the quality, and the delivery according to timeline. Then lastly, on the non-interest mortgage, like we know, this is an ethical product. It has nothing to do with religion because, for example, we have now Jais Bank, we have Taj Bank. There are individuals who are exploring ethical products that are called profit-sharing products instead of interest-bearing products. So what they do is they pay profit on a product that they are buying and not interest. So the non-interest mortgage presupposes that every Nigerian, irrespective of his religious creed, is free to access the non-interest product if he prefers ethical transactions. Like I explained, there's a difference between what is called the ethical transaction, where the beneficiary desires not to pay interest but is willing to share profit or loss. So in that arrangement, the bank provides the houses, makes a profit in terms of margin, and then the individuals pay just like any other mortgage. So every Nigerian is free to access the non-interest mortgage as long as you are a contributor to the National Housing Fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. We'll go into the next phase. Can we take additional 3, please? Please introduce yourself. Stand up, please introduce yourself and your organization.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and management team. My name is Rachel Usidi. I'm the media consultant for Local Media. Thank you, Andy, for your insightful presentation today. And I just want to ask, in the course of your presentation, you said the bank has recorded the highest number of NHF collections. And as in, within this period of your stewardship, this 1 year, that the bank recorded increased NHF collections. So I want to know, I think there might still be 1 or 2 states in Nigeria that are not yet on board the NHF scheme. And then there are employers too that may not be contributing. What steps is the bank taking to ensure that we get them on board? Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, MD. Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hawa Otani Chindo from New Age Network. Congratulations once again, sir. My question here is that every organization is faced with one challenge or the other, and you have mentioned the bank's plans and initiatives. So, sir, my question here is that the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is not left out. What are some of the challenges you have identified, and from what you have seen so far, how do you hope to tap in to help mitigate some of these challenges? Thank you, sir.
The Managing Director of FMBN, and its management staff. Congratulations once again. I would like to, my name is Francis Dojo, reporting for the Nigerian Television Authority. I'd like to take us back to where you talked about houses that are not completed and probably completed and not taken. One of the problems you mentioned was that of affordability. I would like to also ask, is it possible that bureaucratic bottleneck would be one of the challenges too? And if it is, what is the bank doing to ensure that they make it easy for off-takers to be able to get some of these houses? And the second question is, since the last 1 year, have there been houses built by the FMBN that are affordable? And what are the procedures? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. This is the end of the second phase, and the Chief Executive will respond appropriately.
So, finally from me, what is the total revenue generated from FMBN?
Who assumed that we didn't hear that last question?
Okay, I'm trying to ask, what would you say is the total revenue generated by FMBN? Last 1 year, the last 1 year.
All right, thank you very much. The first question is from Roka Media about what we are doing maybe for some states that are not on board and organizations that are also not on board, the contributions to the NHF. Like I reported, for 24 years, for example, Kano State was not contributing to the fund. And we are proud to say that within 1 year, we were able to get Kano State back. This is by no means an easy achievement because it involved a lot of stakeholder engagement, strategic discussions, and so on and so forth. So before now, we had only 2 of them, Kano and Oyo states that are not contributing. Now we have Kano State back. And since we were able to get Kano State back, we believe that we are going to be able to get Oyo State back in the course of this year. Now, with respect to what we are doing to get other non-contributing organizations to contribute, it is also part of the strategy that we intend to deploy, which I talked about, taking our services closer to our customers by identifying strategic locations where we are going to be able to open new branches so that we can be closer to these other organizations, and that will enable us serve our customers better in terms of our efficiency. And if people are happy with our services, they will then join massively contributions to the NHF scheme. Secondly, we have also tried to improve our efficiency, like I also reported. We believe that if people are able to apply for loans and they're able to get them seamlessly, even unsolicited, we'll have organizations that are coming on board on their own, because one way or the other, they would have met someone who would have benefited from our scheme. So the full deployment of our technology and the extension of our services to different parts of the country will go a long way in enable us to achieve this. Then the next question is for New Age, in terms of whether we have challenges and how we are tackling them. Of course, like you observed, yes, we have challenges like any other organization. Our biggest challenge in the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is undercapitalization, because even the PMBs that we fund are more capitalized than we are. And I've already explained the steps we are taking to address the issue of the undercapitalization. Second major challenge is that the NHF Act provides that the commercial banks are to contribute 10% of their total loan portfolio to the NHF in order to assist in financing affordable housing. Insurance companies, by the Act, are also required to contribute 40% of their life funds and 20% of their non-life funds into the NHF scheme to facilitate housing delivery. Since the establishment of this bank and the provision of this law, there's not a single commercial bank or insurance company has complied with this law. And this challenge and several others are the reason we have decided to collaborate with the National Assembly to review and amend both the NHF Act and the FMBN Act. For example, in our engagements with the central bank that ought to ensure the deductions from the commercial banks, part of the challenge they have also mentioned is that the provision is unimplementable to the extent that deposits of commercial banks belong to investors and that they cannot on their own choose to invest 10% of the total sum into NHF. Our engagements have had to make the CBN to suggest what is implementable. Even though in law you cannot say that a subsisting law is not implementable, there are processes through which you can go through. And until you do that, you must comply with the law. And so, but because we are looking for solutions, we have engaged extensively with the CBN. And what we have now resolved on is to amend the Act to make a provision for 10% of profit after tax of these organizations, because more or less this contribution is like corporate social responsibility, is to contribute back to society from where they are also operating and generating huge profits. So that is also one of the major challenges that we have. And what I've also explained is the way we are trying to go through how to resolve it. The other challenge is what we have also talked about. A lot of times our contributors complain that we are not very visible, which is why we have decided to amplify our public awareness campaigns. I talked about the restoration of the weekly program FMBN Deserves a Home, which will run in NTA on Thursdays and on channels 7 p.m. on Saturdays. So we also believe that once contributors begin to receive alerts of their contributions, it will also to a large extent take away part of the challenge that people have also complained about, not knowing what is the volume of their contributions and so on and so forth. Then adage of NTA talked about whether the issue of affordability also has anything to do with bureaucratic bottlenecks. I think they are two different things actually, because as we know, affordability is a function of two variables, cost and income. However, bureaucratic bottlenecks do exist in our society, and what we are trying to do to address that is the issue of improving on our efficiency. And like I mentioned, the very first retreat that we had when we came in as new management was to do a retreat on turnaround time, on the efficiency. And then secondly, we're also reviewing our kinds of building designs. When developers approach us through cooperative societies, because the construction loan that we have now majorly is cooperative housing development loan, where cooperatives can approach us along with developers to say we are a cooperative of X number of members, and we have a collaboration with a developer, and we want the developer to build houses for our members. What we do is to finance construction, and we also approve mortgage loans for the individual members to offtake those houses. So in that process, what we try to do is to manage the designs in such a way that we insist that the designs should be affordable to members of the cooperatives. And through that, we also try to address the issue of affordability. This bank has also reduced equity contribution in order to enhance affordability from 30% that it used to be to 10%. And even when it was discovered that a lot of contributors were unable to pay 10% equity, we created the rent to own, so individuals, especially for funded estates, can move into houses, pay gradually as tenants until the houses become their own. Your next question is, what is our total revenue? it's important to mention that the FMBN is not a revenue generating agency, and so we are very careful about what you mean by revenue. I just complained that the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation took money from Federal Mortgage Bank, inflows, which are contributions from Nigerian workers that are coming in as inflows as NHF contributions, and they were misconstrued as revenue, and 40% of those monies were taken. Until date, we have huge sums of money that are held. So we are not a revenue generating agency, and that is why we do not operate with the motive of profitability. And that is why we are able to provide affordable housing to Nigerians compared to what is going on in the market. However, like I mentioned, we do generate profit to the extent that, as I said, we generated 11.5 billion naira as reflected in our management accounts. And I had also explained that we have a challenge because normally impairment is applied on whatever profit we're able to generate internally. And because of those issues that I mentioned, number one, the issue of non-performing loans, two, the issue of our low capitalization, some of this income that we generate, net income that we generate, is normally affected by the application of impairment. And so when that happens, you will find that whatever operational surplus we're able to declare will come down significantly. But we believe that once we're able to implement all of the strategies that we have defined in terms of addressing the concern around our non-performing loans, and we're able to also achieve recapitalization, that we will be able to conveniently make revenues that can be transferable to government. Total revenue, yeah, I think I've answered that. I don't know if there's any other question I haven't answered, but they have all been taken. But let me also emphasize, Adejo, that we are a single-digit mortgage bank. We are the only institution in this country that offers mortgages at single digits. So if you begin to ask us questions around revenue, maybe we'll begin to think about whether you want us to start offering higher services. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now go to the next phase of the questions and answer session. This time around, MD, we will test your pidgin English. The person from Wazobia would like to ask a question. And one other person.
I will ask my ED to answer.
So we have two in this session or this phase, one from Wazobia and the next person.
So what I just asked Mr. MDBC, you don't need to talk of the Renewed Hope initiative, the project, how the FMBN they contribute to them to take CC people get houses. So we just want to ask, why are they interested? What if it do? How much do I want to put inside? And what will be the result of this?
See, the issue of the issue of Renewed Hope Estate, we say, our bank, Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and Poorman Bank. Now you make all the houses where they give. Now we be the bank where they give single-digit interest rate for this country. When Mr. President say he won't do Renewed Hope, Mr. President say he won't turn the country into a construction site where we say work go on everywhere. Then go they build houses, women go they sell food, people, laborers go get work. So that is why we are interested, because if people come get work where they do, and they build house where poor man fit afford, now they say federal government or Federal Mortgage Bank go fit come in. And say they need hope. Now initiative where government and private sector they do. But Federal Mortgage Bank decide say make it come in so that the house where we they finance. Now only low and medium income earners go get them. So the price where we they get, not be the price where the Renewed Hope people they do for other people, where the big men and rich men. So that is why we they interested. Thank you very much. Dollars annually. They remit over 22 billion naira annually to the country. And we believe that we needed to provide an institutional framework for the collection of these remittances so that they can be turned into housing. Two is that we have we have engagements with foreign investors that have also indicated interest to invest in Nigeria. Because as you know, in spite of the challenges that we have in this country, it is still an investment hub for a lot of foreigners. And so we are rolling out a number of housing projects. For instance, one of the things we intend to do under the diaspora housing scheme is to say that in addition to the remittances that are made by Nigerians in the diaspora, foreign investors that are willing to also invest in housing can actually have a partnership with the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, in the sense that for the diaspora housing scheme, we require a contribution over a period of time. And what we intend to do is to profile those who are contributing for some time. So if you are expected to contribute for 6 months, as required by our NHF law, after 3 months, we are able to do a survey to ask Nigerians in the diaspora that are contributing to this scheme where they would prefer to have their houses. So we can then approach a foreign investor. For instance, these contributors will indicate maybe 1,000 people will say we need houses in Port Harcourt, 500 people will say we need in Enugu, another 500 will say we need in Kano, and so on and so forth. So we are able to match the investors with these possible houses that are required in those locations. So we will take, for example, an investor from China who is able to build 1,000 houses and say, if you can build 1,000 houses in Port Harcourt, we have Nigerians already that have indicated interest to buy those houses. So we will tie the repayment to the capacity of those that have indicated interest to buy those houses. I hope you understand what I mean. So we do a survey and say we need 1,000 houses in Port Harcourt this year. We need 500 in Kano. We need another 500 in Enugu. Last, I think about 3 months ago, I was in Enugu, and I saw that in Enugu there is an initiative where Nigerians of Enugu State origin that are living abroad are partnering with developers in Nigeria to finance the construction of houses where they are going to even create world-class hospitals and so on and so forth. And FMBN is also discussing with this team so that we can provide off-taker guarantees to those foreign investors so they are able to finance those kind of houses. These are initiatives that can be replicated across different sectors in this country. You know, and even our collaboration with Shelter Africa that I also talked about, we're also looking at accessing funding from Shelter Africa so that we can finance some of these our initiatives. So a lot is actually happening. Thank you.
Thank you, MP. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the question and answer session. Having all the questions have been exhausted and answers given, I would like to call again the managing director of this bank to thank us all by giving us his closing remarks.
For your patience and for reporting our activities since the assumption of office of this new management. I would also like to thank my colleagues, the executive directors, and the senior management staff, and all staff of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for the cooperation that we have received so far, and to assure all Nigerians that better days lie ahead by the grace of God. Thank you very much.